Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Production. Today I, Bancroft, are being joined once again by Jimmy, Jake, and like always, Fluff.
Howdy.
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, people?
I forget the order every time because it changes every time.
It's the order your name is called.
Yeah, it's the order in which Bancroft says your name.
Well, like, used to, like, it would start with, because he would always call Fluff last, and then Fluff would start it, and then it was just like, okay, and then who goes next? And now it's just a free-for-all. Who says their name? Whoever just goes first.
Well, it should be, in this case, it was Jimmy.
I need some order here.
Yeah.
I need some order here.
Go by the names from here on out. But
Okay, and names from here on out.
Yes, and thank you all for tuning in. Today we have a duel for you all. So if you enjoy clicking buttons, smash those buttons, and let's get into the battle. It is Fluff versus Jake. Fluff is playing Broly Hirudegarn versus Jake's Ginyu Force. Swarm. Okay, that works. Yeah, it's a lot better. I was gonna say like Ginyu Force. Sounds kind of wrong.
Ginyu Go Wide.
Go Wide works. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this was actually our finals too at our past locals. So, guys, like always, start it off or kick it off.
I was actually really nervous about this match.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, so you had the most to do with the testing and building of this deck in its numerous variations. And just based on the way that the testing went, Ginyu has a very nasty solution to the Hirudegarn chain. So I was really worried about that.
Yeah, and likewise for you as well. You were the primary testing opponent for my Ginyu deck other than untap randoms. So, not that untap randoms aren't good, but you can actually give me vocal feedback after every game.
Yeah.
And I was worried about your knowledge level of my list as well.
Yeah, it was. I knew that like your aggro would come hard, so I just had to prepare for it. Turn one, I do have the Tapion. I set up the sealed music box. I'm sweating right now because I don't have a Minosha in hand. So even though I've set up the sealed music box, I didn't see a Minosha on the top 7.
You consistently have frustrations with searchers in this game.
I hate searchers. I hate them.
And for me, I just blindly flip stuff off the top. Searchers are great in this game. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I fail searchers 60% of the time. If I'm searching for something, I'll miss.
Which is crazy. Like, you must take everybody else's low variance stuff with the searchers somehow. Like, you must be absorbing their negative energy or something.
I guess it's just a thing that I end up doing. I got really lucky on the draw for this turn. I saw the Minosha.
So how important is it to start that chain early?
Not totally. By turn 3, you want to be going up it.
By turn 3?
Yeah. So, here I probably have the ability to take it past. Like, probably have the ability to go to 4. But if I'm on 2 energy when the 4 gets KO'd, I lose my spot in the chain because you can't play the 6 if you only have 2 energy. So I don't want to go in super hot and heavy here. I just want to put a little bit of pressure on. I'm trying to KO the Ginyu or the raccoon just to get it off the field. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to apply a little bit of pressure. If Jake chooses to defend, that's nice. He did unfortunately have a Nappa, which kind of hurt, but.
And, the Nappa is so low investment when you actually play it. And I do apologize for the viewers. I did not think about how these Friday the 13th dice would look on camera. That's 2 markers on the Frieza Unison, and I will try to keep track for the... now we're up to 3. I will try to keep track for the remainder of the duel. I won't use these on camera in the future. I didn't consider that at all.
One of our earlier duels at night, I was sitting beside you, and I looked over. I'm like, what the hell is that? Because you could not see it even at the table.
Well, I think even in this duel, we had an issue where I swung into the Unison because I couldn't read the number on those dice. and I was gonna try to just remove the unison, and then Jake moves the dice, and he's like, "Yeah, it's a 3." I was like, "God, it had 4 on it. I wouldn't have even
That's
messed
the
with it at that
strat.
point." Yeah,
That's
like,
the strat, dude.
Well,
Just play unrecognizable dice.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I won't use them in the future for tournament games, but I really do enjoy it. It's a pretty sick Friday the 13th.
oh, they're killer dice. I just couldn't read what was on them. Jake, of course, again, is just applying pressure, but also keeping me from awakening. I think you've got me at 5 life here.
Yeah, and you charged the Broly you went and got because I think you even said aloud, I don't really have to worry about being awakened here.
Yeah.
And I could have applied more pressure that turn by swinging with Guldo, but it's such low value. That's kind of a pretty brain dead play. Excuse my language.
Yeah. And I also knew that I was going to awaken here, so I'll go ahead and get the auto for the Dodoria, even though you're popping it with Dormant, just to put myself in an awakened position, which is a little risky because I'm taking an extra swing from you. But I know the only way that I'm going to be able to keep up with Ginyu's Assault is to have as many cards in my hand as possible turn to turn to just freely combo kill, negate, counterplay, whatever I have to do. Unfortunately, I really mess up here, and I'll kind of walk through the misplay as it happens. But I swing with lead. I believe I do swing with lead to go in and get some draws in because I don't want to sacrifice anything in my hand. I need to free another battle card slot on my side of the field, but I want to use Hirudegarn and Broly's skill to KO my Hirudegarn to get it up the chain. So I don't want to have to use that skill on Frieza, but I wasn't thinking. Something caught me off guard, and I didn't combo the Frieza up. So I'm stuck in this position where I should have comboed the Frieza, but now I have to decide, like, if I want to play, like, the best combo in the deck, which is, you know, play the 4, swing with the 4, then KO the 4 with the 9, and play out the 6, I have to find a way to get rid of that Frieza because of the leader's limitations.
Yeah, it's a very awkward situation once you're awakened with this leader in a battle card deck like Hero Chain, especially when your counterplays are battle card based as well. You can get in an awkward situation where you have too many battle cards on board. And is this the Broly where you can only have 2 battle cards?
Correct.
So yeah, you could get in a situation where you can't activate your counterplays because you already have 2 battle cards on board.
Yeah, I really thought about taking the Frieza counterplays out of this just because of that.
That's such a hard cut.
They're so good.
You're running green and you don't run the Frieza counterplay. It's just so hard not to run that card.
And that's ultimately why it's still here.
Yeah.
This is the leader that activate battle, pop a card.
It's activate main, I believe.
It's activate main.
It's a main? Okay.
So, Jake, all of my matches with this particular Broly deck has usually gone on very long. We get into the high turns.
Yeah.
So a lot of aggro swarm decks tend to have a fizzle point, and it tends to be early in the game. But I feel like Ginyu's in a special place where it doesn't really have a fizzle point.
It doesn't.
Is there something like that for the deck?
Because of this card, it doesn't.
Oh, well, yeah, never mind.
Cooler smooths out the would-be fizzle point for Ginyu. It took a lot of testing to really find this card and find the right number of copies to play. Another consideration is the Dark Broly unison, but that's a discussion for another day. The main thing about Ginyu and why it doesn't fizzle as easily as other aggro decks is because, like the Jex, you play cards from the top of your deck rather than your hand.
Of course, yeah.
So
that's what I was thinking in my head. Like, your fizzle point is when you start missing on Ginyu hits from your deck because either you drew into them or you've swung with your leader enough that they're lacking in the deck,
or you hit a critical mass of battle cards where you can no longer play a second copy of a unique battler, which happens occasionally. The real fizzle point for Ginyu is against decks like Hero Chain with high value blockers and a high density of negates. And it's basically when you go to make your final assault, it's kind of a I don't really know the term for it, but if you go all in, to use a poker term.
Yeah.
You have to combo out your whole hand to do everything you can to try and win. And if your hand doesn't permit that line of play, you fizzle out on the defense when your opponent goes to swing back at you.
Gotcha.
And also getting rid of the Frieza unison in favor of the aggressive cooler unison eliminates the Ginyu player's ability to stack the top to ensure the hit on the leader swing. So, while they're maintaining the 15k token, they're missing the deck thinning and they're missing the Ginyu setup.
Well, you retain the same amount of deck thinning provided you have at least one card in your hand, because Frieza draws a card and then puts a card on top, allowing you to play it, whereas Cooler just outright draws two.
Right.
So depending where you are, you're right. You want to replace the Cooler unison offensively typically, but you have my hand size so low in this game, and by that I mean currently there's one card in it or two cards in it, I think, that the Frieza putting a card back on top of my deck is more detrimental than the raw +1 that Cooler provides me at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I'd agree. Let's talk about this turn for you, because you and I had done a lot of testing, but most of your testing was when I was still running the Revive Coup leader.
Right.
And one of the things that had been really good against Hirudegarn had been either take my 6-drop or 9-drop. And because you take them, now the 9-drop not so much, but the 6-drop, if you're able to take the 6-drop with your Ginyu, I have to discard 2 because you become the card controller as it leaves the field.
Right. And that came up more than once in our testing, I believe. We actually had to stop a couple games and go look at rulings on specific cards.
Yeah.
But
there was
you're right.
one game we tested. I think you resolved that 2 or 3 times. Like
Yeah.
every time I'd get up to 6, you'd take it.
Yeah, it's especially nasty if I have a full board of Ginyus, because the backbone of the force becomes free.
Yeah.
On this turn, I was basically at a crossroads where I could commit a lot of cards on my hand to the board and try and go with an offensive line of play, or try and whittle you down on your hand size and take a more defensive line. And I make the wrong play here.
Yeah.
Of course, hindsight is 2020, but I completely forgot about Broly being able to KO one of your own battle cards in order to KO an opponent's battle card.
Yep.
My thinking here was I could clog up your field with a useless 15k that I just simply wouldn't remove for the rest of the game, and you would only have one space to play battle cards in. But unfortunately, that's not the way it plays out.
Yeah, because initially I was like, God, I forgot you run that Ginyu. Like, it caught me off guard. And then as I'm like sequencing for my turn, I'm like, wait, this isn't bad at all. And I think it even went, I'm so sorry, Jake.
Well, if I would have got one block out of this 9-drop, I think the game would have went a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of upset about essentially beating myself initially, but I'm playing a B-tier deck at best. This is the second week in a row I've got second place with a B-tier at best list. I mean, there are a few expensive cards in it, but it's not exactly going to win a regionals anytime soon. And Ginyu is a deck where you have to think about every single turn very intensely.
Yeah.
Because you're stacking your deck and you have to think about what are the next 5 cards I'm going to draw.
Yep.
So I forgive myself for this one.
You absolutely should. And like I explained, we talked about it after. you were conditioned to playing the game in response to my revival, where I just didn't have a readily available out to you. And you take it, I have to work through it and then still lose cards in my hand. I don't get to continue my chain at that point. Like, it's just rough.
And at this point in the game, after that, I'm so mentally out of it that I essentially know I can no longer win. So I'm just kind of playing to get it over with.
I felt very in charge after, like, even though you dormant on me, I still felt like I was controlling the pace one way or the other. And actually here, I go to swing with the 6-drop. I swung with the 6-drop, and I was like, fuck, I meant to swing with lead because I was like, fuck, he dormanted. So I wanted to swing with the lead to get the thing. Jake was awesome enough to let me take that back.
That's awfully kind of
How
you.
how many cards did you draw off of that leader swing?
Just then?
Yeah.
3.
3.
Because I had 3 cards in hand, and so you get to go back up to 6 every turn.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, probably swinging with the 6-drop or the leader would have been at the same difference depending on Jake's hand size as well. Because you're swinging with a critical body, you probably could have thrown like a 18 super combo on it and still maintain that hand advantage just through hand destruction and denial of cards from the life.
The problem is not his hand, it's his unison, right?
Yeah.
His unison is providing another source of pressure that I can't readily deal with here. Yeah, so I'm popping the 6-drop with the Hirudegarn just to make Jake drop 2. I'm basically at this point trying to keep his hand as small as possible. And I think at this point you're probably at 1 or 2 cards in hand.
Yeah. After EDK, I was at 5. So 2 Nappas would have put me at 3 cards in hand. And then now I'm at 2 before charge phase.
Yeah. And I was actually surprised to see you charge here. Or you didn't charge.
I didn't charge. I make a token. Which is also incorrect because I haven't swung yet and dormant potential exists, which I get completely 8 right here. Like, I'm so mentally out of it at this point that I don't even put the Nappa in my drop area. I put it in my token pile. Like, it's over for me.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and that's a problem I have as a player, is whenever I make a large mistake, I beat myself up about it, and it really kind of removes the potential of me salvaging the game.
Yeah.
Between, like, with the resources I still have, granted I play correctly, my opponent's only at 3 life. There's a chance I win this game. It's not a big chance, but there's a chance I win this game if I play perfectly. But I'm just way too out of it mentally to do that at this point. I'm helix striking with no cards in hand. Like, it's just stupid. Like, why am I playing? Why am I doing this?
Well, I think we talked about it afterwards. You mentioned the main reasons because you knew he had Rubian in the drop, I think.
Oh, yeah. So at least I can combo them from the board.
Yeah.
That's right. So I'm not completely face rolling.
Yeah, you're just setting up a big field, even though you can't attack. And I'm setting up here to set up combo kills. Sorry about that. Got scratchy throated there. But I'm trying to set up combo kills on the field here. So when you combo with your cards, if I need to, I can just make you kill those combos. And also the ability to go on ahead and go up to the 6. If I can make you take another life, I can dump your hand. There's just a number of different things that I can do here. And, you know, it really slowed me down. I think you used dormant potential twice over the course of this game.
Yeah.
That really slowed me down. Like, those turns that you did hit dormant, I probably had another 2 to 3 attacks those turns that I could have doled out. So it really prolonged the game, which I think really lends itself well to Ginyu's overall play.
It's a solid deck, but like I said, it doesn't. Without Celzino, it doesn't really have a bomb way to end the game, and it doesn't really. It's really good at playing battle cards, but every deck plays battle cards, right? So every deck is prepared to deal with battle cards. So Ginyu is really like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but I honestly think it's a B plus, A minus deck at best, and you probably won't see it in the tops of a regionals anytime soon. But you might see it show up at your locals, and maybe it'll turn some heads.
I feel like it's one of those decks that definitely has a decent best out of one game, but I also think that its hardest matchups are the decks that are kind of the best type of deck in the format right now. Like
Yeah.
control, hand control, Broly.
Well, the red Broly matchup is actually quite good for Ginyu, and the Jax matchup is surprisingly good for Ginyu as well. But you're right, the rest of the popular decks in the format, even all the way down to Sin Shenron, just kind of eat this deck for breakfast.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really cool deck, and I'm glad to see that, Ginyu's been one of those like tantalizing archetypes since as early as set 1, if I'm mistaken. And we got the kind of tease with the red Ginyu stuff, and then we finally got the green Ginyu stuff in set 10. And I love what the expansion set did to it. And I think it's just a matter of time before someone really figures that deck out. I do agree it is still probably like a tier 1-5. It's a really solid, viable deck. It's a relatively cheap deck to make. So anyone that's trying to, be even moderately successful at their locals with practice can pilot this deck incredibly well. And you've proven that. Like, don't beat yourself up. Like, you're beating good players and you're beating good decks with that. You just happen to you made a conditioned response to what our testing held, and it didn't pay off. I wouldn't beat yourself up for it. Like, congrats. Like, you did really well.
I think my main problem is that good players know lines of play. Great players can alter them depending on the state at the table. And I just wasn't, I just didn't live up to my potential in that game, I don't think. But I don't want to take anything away from you either, because we've played a lot of matches where, like we've played a lot of testing matches that didn't go well for the hero chain against Ginyu, and despite that, you were able to pull through and find the win. So, I don't want this to be like I'm bad and you beat a bad player. Like you played very well, and I don't want to take anything away from you either. Like, congratulations, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You've whipped my ass with that deck before. Like, you have just thoroughly just tore me up playing that deck. And so, like, I don't want you to, like, beat down on yourself for whatever, because I think, like, you are really good with that. Like, I haven't seen many things. Like, you've played a couple clunkers, over the last few months that just weren't good. But this deck really shines in your hand. And I think you should keep working on it. Like, that's...
Jake, if it makes you feel better, you beat Gotenks with that deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gotenks is like a 50-50 matchup.
Nah, it's fucking Gotenks, bro. You slap Gotenks' cheeks, man.
Yeah, you did beat Gotenks, and I still don't think that I beat Gotenks with anything. Like, don't think I beat Gotenks with any of the decks that I played.
Again, you is still green. It's still a green deck, guys.
Yeah. But it's not as focused on doing what green likes to do.
Very true. And we are way in the black here, so I'm sure Bancroft is like pulling his eyebrows out. So
No, of course not. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you all enjoy. Don't forget to click buttons. They're there for a reason. And with that being said, Jake, last words?
If you want to win, you have to practice, and when you practice, really think about what you're doing. Don't just fall into a series of conditioned responses because it'll cost you games.
Jimmy?
P burn, listen to Jake.
And with that being said, Fluff, would you lead us out?
Of course. Read your cards, know your plays. Like always, bluff out.